Hi, this is Stephen Olivo, the host of the BXB podcast. Today I have a special guest. He actually, one of the gentlemen that bought our loan service business. So, it's a great testament to what entrepreneurship is all about. It's doing new things and learning new things as you go on in your journey. Today I have William Graham. You can call him Bill, but William Graham is a great entrepreneur. Has a great past, military past, entrepreneur, and he's doing great things in business. So, Will, please go ahead and tell people about yourself. Tell them who you are and where you feel like you're going, and tell us everything.
I think, a lot of things is people with ADHD and stuff like that. I tend to try to have my fingers in a lot of things.
That's me.
I had read that, people that are wealthy have 7 streams of income, you know what I mean? So, and maybe each of those streams aren't huge, but, they're all coming in and they're all, reoccurring type, income.
Yeah.
Passive income, maybe some active income, maybe some different, different types of income. But anyway, so that's
what kind of got you started, first of all, right? Like when
well, you might be surprised. So my wife and I, we attended a Than Merrill class, mastermind class. And so, I don't know if you know Than Merrill.
Yeah.
Basically Than Merrill, he was an NFL player, and then ended up getting out and started doing fix and flips and stuff like that. Ended up going on HGTV. So anyway, we attended the Than Merrill class. Now, obviously, Than Merrill didn't give any the presentation. He wasn't there. The guy that was there, though, was actually a guy who worked the pit at Wall Street. So this guy was very, very interesting. And I mean, my wife and I just kind of sit there, and it's where you start learning about all these different things that you learn about investments, you learn about, especially the stock market, all these other things, mutual funds. And we figured out, that stuff wasn't that safe at all. And so, and how, on Wall Street, they can go in and manipulate, and, it's the fluctuations, it's the volatility that causes money. You know what I mean? The cycle of money. And so, and at the time, they said there was about $24 trillion in IRAs. Well, I mean, again, if they start hitting all that stuff, that's how people loses their money.
Yeah.
At that time, I had already retired from one job and worked in a few others. But, I have less time in front of me than I have behind me. So if I lost half my IRA, for my retirement, I struggled to get that back, so true. That was a big eye opener for us. And we had this class, it was probably, 5-6 years ago now. We didn't quite get into the fix and flip of houses. We are still very interested in real estate, my wife and I, more in the multifamily real estate. So that's where we're kind of digging in right now.
Nice.
But what I ended up doing was I ended up going through the money first. So that's where the lending part of it kind of goes. I'm in a coaching program now with a coach, and that's part of the thing I hear all the time is okay, well, where do I get the money for this? Where do I get the money for this? And so, and I'm like, well, I know.
So, that's
kind of what happened there.
Yeah, because what you did was you said, all right, well, these guys are gonna want to do something. Let me become the money, right? By you offering,
exactly.
By you offering funds to people for their, whether it's coaching, whether it's projects or whatever it may be. Sure. You didn't chase money no more. It came to you. People are coming to you for it, right? That's a great way to do it. I actually had similar, right? I still do. I own a consulting firm as well, and we broker airplanes, right? So one of the biggest problems I was having when I was brokering airplanes was, these lenders, right? It's so hard to find a lender that's going to fund on certain deals, especially if they're out of the country or depending on the scenario, right? So I said, you know what, like when I started doing lending, believe it or not, that was the first partners I reached out to were aircraft lenders. And then it started going to personal, business, commercial, and everything else. And we started building that whole platform with ETG. But it's something that, you need to go, instead of you chasing money, learn how to catch the money, right?
Right. And
That's the best way to do it in any situation. Don't be the one chasing it, be the one that they come to for it, right?
sure, sure.
And having 7 streams, that's the reason why I also myself invest and do so many different things, is because I remember Warren Buffett said it, right?
Yeah.
You have to have 7 different streams of income coming in so that, you actually can survive. Because one stream doesn't work, at least you have these other ones that do, right? And then
Right.
if those ain't working now, you still got this one that just came out of nowhere. So what I
Sure.
actually call it is drop in
Drop and
seeds,
see. That's
right?
right.
And eventually
That's right.
those seeds will grow and they're going to start making money for you,
Right.
right? So, but it's awesome, right? Because with what you've learned, you didn't just take what you got, you transitioned it.
Hmm.
You made it into your
And
own, you made your own wave.
and I have, and so as far as that, yeah, we're dealing with the resident, the multifamily real estate, and that's a lot of fun. It's kind of its own, hair pulling out events on
Yeah.
top of that, but where I ended up starting. So I did. I served in the Marine Corps. I was 20 years in the Marines, and then retired
Thank you
from
for
the
your service.
military. And you're welcome. And from there, I ended up getting a facility manager job. So I was managing a crew of about 45 people, a multi-revenue sales facility, they called it. It was actually a lot of fun, but it's, the short of it, it was a gas station, car wash, car wash, full service detail, and a convenience store. And so, running SKUs through point of sales and all these different things, you know, pushing crew of car washers and detailers, and incidentally, I'm like the only white guy there of a crew of Mexicans and Chaldeans, which was kind of interesting because half of them didn't speak English, and you know,
I don't
and
know what
so,
you're
but
talking
it it,
about.
it was just it was a lot of, it was interesting, but again,
Yeah.
I got the entire crews to move where they were supposed to go. And so it was a lot of fun. We were doing average of about $65,000 a day in sales, so that's, it wasn't small. Most of that was gas. And then from there, I went to a facility manager where this was in Phoenix. We left California and went to Phoenix. And then there I was a facility manager at a storage facility.
Mhm.
And it was just something different. It was, it's, they paid for the apartment, things like that. And I boosted, monthly revenue there from 60,000 a month to 80,000 a month. And I'm like, COVID hit, and they kept wanting to get the stick up the nose and everything
Yeah.
else. And I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm not, retired from the military. I'm making other people money. You know, I'm
Your
tired of
time
this. I'm
is
going to do this stuff
valuable.
myself.
Yeah. It comes a point where you got to value your own time, right? And
Exactly.
you can do
Exactly.
so much more with your own time that, it can make you a lot more than what they're paying you, right? So it's basically all people do is when you're working for somebody, they're taking advantage of
Mhm.
your time by paying you for that time and
Sure.
saying, this is what I think your time is worth to me,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
And in all actuality, your time is worth a lot more and you just didn't
Mhm.
realize it yet, right?
And
Now
that's right.
now you have, right? That's why you're
Right.
starting all these businesses.
That's
That's why
right.
you're taking the risk to go
Hmm.
ahead and put yourself out there with true entrepreneur
Sure.
stuff, right? Because if you don't
Right.
try, you fail, right? That's
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 right.
just what it
That's
is.
right.
But
That's right.
tell us a little bit, I guess, about Pro Credit Solvers. What you guys do fully with I know you do loans, credit card
Hmm.
processing. Tell me a little bit more.
Well, we do. So actually, here's where it kind of started was, so pro credit solvers. Um, when I start looking at helping business owners, usually what they end up doing is they end up taking out loans in their personal name
Yeah.
for their business. And so part of what pro credit solvers does is it helps to separate your business credit from your personal credit. So you establish your business credit. So that is one of the programs we, establish business credit. By establishing the profile, we go through the 125 points of the business credit profile, so that you have your DUNS number, all these other things. So you look like a very legitimate company.
Yeah.
And then from
You take
there,
loans
you're
from
able to
them.
go in, take loans based on the EIN, not the SSN. And so that was the idea, um, is a segregation of your finances. The problem is that when people do business transactions through their SSN, um, what happens is that it can get into, it kind of muddies the waters when you start getting into, let's say if you get sued, you know, now they have what they can call is piercing the veil, where, you know, in the legal terms, they can go in and they say, well, you act like your business and your business acts like you. And so what I try to do is I try to teach business owners that there is a separation of this power between the
Yeah.
two. You are not your business and your business is not you. You have to run those as separate entities. And so that's kind of the idea of where that started. As I would go along, you know, sometimes you have to take a first loan out on your credit because
Yeah.
again, you're wanting to get started somewhere. Um, and so anyway, we'll do that, but then I find out, well, they come in and they have very poor credit scores. So I'm like, okay, well, let me work on that. So I added to the part of being able to help entrepreneurs, business owners to boost their personal credit score as well. And then, you know, a lot of times I run into different things where, you know, oh, how do I get started in business? How do I do these things? And I'm like, well, you know, that kind of makes sense. Let's go to kindergarten before we go to, you know, to first grade, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So what I'm working on right now is actually some training programs as well, where, um, you know, they can actually take courses. Now they'll be fairly cheap to do, but because again, I can just put this thing together and they can go through and take the course and learn how to establish their business. And by doing that, they're establishing their business credit profile unbeknownst to them. And so that was kind of the idea. It was just kind of hitting these widgets all at the same time because they all seem to kind of mesh together.
Yeah.
And that was the thought with it. So now, you know, personal credit or establishing your business, personal credit, business credit, and lending, you know, that's all the things that are needed in order to keep your business functioning, but also on the other side, your personal. So again,
Yeah.
if you've taken all your loans out on your personal, now your debt to income ratio is too high, and you say, well, the car, you know, blew a rod, and I have to go buy this, but I don't have money for it because it's all going into business.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can't even take a loan because I'm too extended, you know. So it's just kind of those things that I kind of work out in my head, and say, well, these are the needs of what I see of business owners.
And that's the greatest way to start a
That's the
business, finding the need, right? Because
I
as
think
long as
that
you
is
find the need and like you said, if you can combust so many different products and services in one,
right.
people only going to come to you. So that's like when we started ETG Financial, right? ETG
Mhm.
Financial, one-stop shop financial hub, right? Now that
Right.
you put the business, you're able to offer those loans and all the services that we do in these different
Mhm.
countries the same way ETG does, right?
Sure.
So it
Yeah.
expanded your business tremendously, that alone, right?
It
But
it did.
also that and the credit card processing is huge because, like you say, you're helping
Yeah,
them with personal credit, you're helping them with a loan.
that's true.
Come on, you
And
you just blew your business up completely. Now
yeah,
it's
that's
just
for
putting
sure.
it out there. Let people know about it, right? How
Sure.
good, how much
And
progress we're doing right now.
right. And I'm still fairly new at the, you know, at the ETG Financial.
White
So, you know,
label.
you know what I mean? Because, you know, I would say I hadn't signed up at that long ago, but so it is interesting. I haven't kind of delved into that part of it yet, but you're right. It's something that I see as kind of, wow, that's kind of a, you know, another revenue stream of its own.
Well, another
So
revenue stream of its own, but it adds so much value to
mhm.
what you already have because you're a
Sure,
one-stop
sure.
shop
Got it.
financial hub, right?
That's right.
Where everybody can come to you, whether it's for personal, business, commercial,
Right.
aircrafts, you name it, right?
Right.
Merchant processing, fixing my credit,
Mhm.
whether it's my business or personal,
Sure.
there's the list goes on, right?
Right.
And that's the beauty about what you have there and what we also have on our side is
Mhm.
because we don't want to be the no guys, right? We don't want to
Exactly.
be the
Yeah.
guy that this client comes to us and I'm sorry, we can't help you. We want to
Right.
say
Right.
yes as many times as we can.
Right.
And think about it like this, right? You have a client come to you for a personal loan.
Mhm.
He says, I need some money because I want to start a business.
Right.
right? Falls right into your lap of what you're already dealing with, right?
That's right.
So now what you tell them, well, all right, well, let me help you get established, right? Let
Right.
me get you going. Let me do what everything you need to have a successful business. So
Right.
one, you're giving them the coaching classes, which is going to coach them how to run their business, how to
Right.
build a business, how to fix
Hmm.
their credit, how to do all of these different things. Then you're going to tell them, well, look, for your business now, you're going to need credit card processing because you need to catch the money, right? So let
That's
me
right.
set you up for credit card processing. I'll get you going. Now,
Hmm.
if you have a location, you're going to have a brick and mortar location. You're probably going to need an ATM in there too. So let's put
Why
an
not?
ATM in there as well, right? Then
Yeah.
you're going to
Why
go
not?
ahead and if they're renting the location, let them rent for a while as you keep checking
Hmm.
in on how's business, how's everything going, building
Sure.
that relationship. Then you're going to
Sure.
come to them later and say, hey, have you ever heard of the SBA 7A loan? Do you
Hmm.
own the building that you're in? No?
Sure.
Let's see if we can get that building for you. Let's see if the
Sure.
owner wants to sell it to you. The SBA will give you that loan all day because your business is inside of it.
Mhm. That's right.
We just created
That's
a
right.
whole relationship with this guy by helping his
Mhm.
business from A to Z, right?
That's right.
And then all he's going to do is say, hey, I got a guy. He'll do
That's
this for
right.
you too. Remember, our
That's right.
relationship building is everything. Referrals is everything for our businesses, right?
That's
So,
right.
trust me, I see it. I see you're in a great
Yeah.
space and your
Mhm.
mindset for it is great because you figured it out. A lot
Right.
of people, they like you went online when you were buying this business and you probably seen that other people are selling similar businesses, like,
Right.
but they're only selling business loans or
Right.
they're
Right.
only doing commercial loans, right?
Sure.
But what
Sure.
happens if you can't help them? You're just gonna
Right.
say goodbye? Or
Right.
you know what I'm saying? You're not gonna have nothing to
Hmm.
offer this guy. You, on the other hand, you have everything above the sun for them, right? Because
That's
now
the
you can
idea.
say, I got this. We
Yeah.
can
And it kind of goes back into some of, the multi-revenue sales facility, that idea, it became, in that car wash business. So we had, again, gas station, car wash, convenience store,
Mhm.
and full service detail. So the idea is that customer can come in, get gas, run their car through the car wash, and it was a hand wash, where it was all done for them,
Yeah.
and then they could run into the convenience store, grab a Coke and a smile and sit there and
Yeah.
watch, and that was it. I mean, and then 15 minutes their car was done, dried, and the windows and everything, and
You want to buy some
so
snow
that
goods?
was that was the idea. Yeah, exactly. And so that was kind of the idea that I was having there, was along those same lines where, again, this person says, hey, I've never started a business before. And I can say, it's not as hard as you think. Now it's work.
Yeah.
So if you've ever worked as hard in your life for no money, that's what it's going to be like. But
But
getting
the
started
value
is
behind
is
that is
it
better though.
sucks.
Yeah. It sucks
But
as you're going through the process, but once you build
that's
that
right.
pipeline, it was all worth it.
That's right.
It was
And
all
that's the thing. It does. It's, you're going to work harder than you've ever worked for little money getting started. And but it is worth it. It does have, it expands, and that's one of the things that is it can expand very rapidly. Um, Before you know it, I mean, you can double what you were paid in a W-2 job easily, six
easy.
months, 8 months, a year, those kind of things. But you have
Yep.
no cap on your income. So, and
That's what
that's
I
kind
love.
of that's nice.
That's
Yeah,
I
exactly.
love that part.
You
Yeah.
are getting paid what you're worth then.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, when you create it,
but
right? Because at the same
that's
time
right.
is when you start thinking to yourself, all right, well, how am I going to scale this? Right? Because
Hmm.
I already got my own thing going. Let me get on the scale side of things now,
Sure.
where I can go ahead now and hire a bunch of different brokers to come under me to do the same thing I'm doing. Let me
Right.
offer those brokers this training course that I have on
Hmm.
how to get leads for the business.
Right.
And then, not only am I giving them this opportunity to learn how to build lead acquisition that I'm going to make money off of them too because they buy in the course, right?
Sure.
So
That's
it
right.
helps you on every side of it. And I try to keep a lot of these different things separately sometimes because
Hmm.
you want to be able to cross market. You want to be able to
Yes.
say, through here we do this and this
Mhm.
causes that with this
Right.
company, right? And then
Right.
nobody ever knows, oh, well, those are all your companies. Doesn't
Yep.
matter, right? Because it's literally a different company at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
that's right.
And for me, it's something that you have to go ahead and keep finding products. So you were saying that
Mhm.
did you create the courses already, or you're in the process of it?
I'm in the process of it right now. So
What are
basically
you
is
using?
you can, what am I using
Yeah,
as far as
to
the
create it.
platform?
Yeah,
Well, what it, again, I have some, AI driven things where I can actually go in and I can collaborate with them and then kind of rewrite them a little bit more on
yeah.
my own.
So the only reason I'm
You
saying
know,
is because you got your CRM from us, right?
no, I had my own. I
No,
had
no,
my
I'm
own,
saying I know you do, but
but
remember
yeah,
we
but
also
yeah,
got one, right? But you already have
yes,
the Go High Level
I
anyway.
already had, yeah,
So,
the go high
but
level.
through Go High Level, I don't know if you saw there that I don't know what membership you have, but I know if you use the one we have the top
Hmm.
one, and
Hmm.
you can create those courses right on the CRM.
Yes, I can do that as
Yeah,
well.
all right.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
So
that's
yeah, I can
honestly,
create those.
yeah, and you create your
It's
community
gold.
with it and everything.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's the same. Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now as well. So anyway, so as far as putting my, my whole lesson plan and building the lessons and things like that, and um, so I'll kind of write these things out. There's checklists and there's different things that they can pull out and write, because again, with that, it's a little bit different per person,
Yeah,
based on, but again, it's about finding your avatar, finding your niche, finding your, what is it, based on the need, find the need, fill that need. And then sometimes you kind of have to, if you do it, like answers to the public, you can go out to answers to the public and you can kind of,
automation.
find out what is it that people are asking for, what is it that they need help, specifically within your niche, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
And so now you turn around and it gives you the start that you can actually, be able to build a program or whatever
yeah,
on it.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
That's awesome. Well, at
and there'll
least
be a
you're attacking
certificate.
AI.
Yeah, I like AI. I'm kind of old now, but I remember 286 computers. So with 2 megahertz of RAM, and I don't know if that tells my age, but today is my birthday. So
Oh,
I
happy
turned
birthday.
55 today. That
Happy
was the only
birthday.
reason I picked this day. I was like,
Awesome.
well,
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
today was the double nickel, and so yeah, it's but I do remember these old computers and stuff like that, and so I'm in that generation that's kind of grown up with all of it, doing a lot of the new technologies and things like that. And I do like AI. It does help a lot with writer's blocks and things like
Yeah.
that. And I am a writer. I can, I'm in college. I could write. Let's say I need 7 pages and I could do 15. So it's
Yeah. Do you
just
use AI
because.
to create any books? Do you author at
I
all?
haven't I haven't yet. I have, created some ebooks that are just giveaways. So that's part of my giveaway stuff. So I do have some of those. And like you say, I'll go in and change them because you do have to know what they're saying. Now, you have to also be careful because a lot of times, Google is trying to, they can determine if your stuff is AI written. And so, they can penalize you for that kind of stuff. So you want to make sure that you do put enough in there. Now they're asking for you to credit AI in
Yeah,
some of your
100%.
writing if
Yeah.
you use it. So
Yep.
yeah. So again, so I'm using it for collaboration effort more than anything.
Yeah.
Because the problem is when you start getting into AI is if you ask it just a generic question, you're going to get a generically stupid answer,
Yeah.
so, but if you're not real specific with it, well, the more specific that you are,
You get
the
what you want.
better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll get a little bit better.
Don't
You'll
just
get quite a
write
bit better
one sentence.
results,
Write a
right?
whole bunch of stuff in
Exactly.
there, and just to be
Well,
as
and you,
specific as possible.
that's right. And so, but again, it does give me a lot of things to think about. And again, answers to the public is also another one. What that one, obviously does is it takes probably these most common questions that are asked, and puts them in a pinwheel. I don't know if you've probably saw wagon wheel, you've seen
Yeah,
that. And it's very helpful on trying to, create content,
yeah.
for
I like it. I
different
like
things.
it. Honestly,
Yeah.
I try to teach whatever I know and whatever I learned on it, I try to
Mhm.
teach somebody else on. I always believe in, you gotta, pay forward, right? That's one of my
Pay
biggest
forward.
things. Pay
Yeah.
forward because, you know, there's a whole lot of things that I thought were harder than they were, right? And when I figured it out, I'm like, that's it,
Yeah, that
right?
was it. Yeah, we are
More
just
work than
humans.
this?
We make mountains out of molehills.
Right? Right. It's crazy. And but there's so many people just like me, right?
Sure.
That feel the same way and they stop themselves from doing things because they think they need certain qualifications. They need
Right.
certain things. And at the end of the day, it's, all it takes is effort, right? Take a
That's right.
little bit of effort and you get so much out of it, right? And that also goes for, working when you're working for somebody, right? They
Mhm.
see the cause and effect. I tell you to do this, you ain't gonna tell your
Right.
boss no. You're just gonna do it, right?
That's right.
And then when you
Right.
do it, you're gonna do it for that person, and somebody that's working for somebody is not gonna realize how easy it is because they were told
Sure.
to do it, right?
That's right.
But now,
That's
if
right.
you're doing it on your own, you're like, man, like
Right.
I would pay somebody for this, right?
Yeah.
Like I created my own crypto, right? My own
I
coin.
heard about that. I
Yeah.
think I saw that in one of the
Yeah, so
past podcasts.
I created my coin, and it was funny that I had a friend of mine tell me, I've been trying to do this for a long time, right?
Sure.
And I love cryptocurrency. As you can see, it's going up right now, so making some money.
Right.
But I'm trying to figure this out, and I'm trying to pay people thousands and
Mhm.
thousands of dollars to do this for
Wow.
me,
Yeah.
and everybody drops the ball. I've lost a lot of money trying to get people to do this.
Sure.
All right, which is not
Yeah.
for me.
For
It's
sure.
lessons learned. That's all it is. I don't. The
Yeah.
money's fine, whatever. You just make more.
Yeah.
But now
You just
what?
make more money. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So a friend of mine, he tells me, he goes, "Hey, how does it work with these little meme coins that don't mean nothing, but people are just making money on them?" And I'm like,
Right.
well, it's a crypto, it's a coin. It don't matter what it
Right.
is, it's how you promote it and things like that.
Hmm.
And I'm like, why you
Right.
asking? He was like, oh, I just was thinking about making one, right? And I'm like, he just said it like nonchalant, like, yeah, I'm just thinking about making
Right.
one. I'm like, you know how to do it? He's like, no, but this guy knows how to do it, a friend of ours, right?
Right. Right.
And I'm like, you're kidding me. He said, yeah. I said, put
Wow.
him on the phone right now. Right. So I get him on the phone and he tells me, yeah, I can do it 24 hours. It's nothing. It's easy for me.
Wow.
I'm like, I've been wanting to do this for years. And now
Mm.
you tell me this. Right. So I was like, all right. I sent them all of my information for one of my companies. I said, make me a coin for my company. Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
And he said, all right, I got you. I said,
Right.
24 hours, right? So 3, 4 days pass, nothing.
Mm.
So I call him, I'm like, what happened to 24 hours, right?
Right. Right.
Like, oh, he's in production. So he deals with a lot of,
Right.
the traveling for, doing things for
Mhm.
big brands and stuff like that. So
Sure.
I said, all right, well, when can you get it done? Oh, when I get back. So
Mm.
now it's like you keep
Sure.
pushing things back. Now I'm annoyed. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
this
Right.
ain't gonna work for me because I get anxious. If you tell me I'm in
Right.
24 hours, I'm expecting 24 hours. Now I'm like,
That's right.
well, in my head, I don't think anybody's better than me, right?
Hmm.
Because we all bleed the same blood,
That's
right?
right.
So at
That's
the end
right.
of the day, I said, all right, I'm sitting there. I remember it was like 10 o'clock, 10:15 at night.
Hmm.
And it's just driving me crazy. In my head, I'm just sitting there like, I'm not waiting. Like I can't wait. So
Right.
what I did, I went right online, started Googling, I went on YouTube, I
Right.
started, trying to figure it out. I figured it out within 30 minutes.
Yeah.
All right. And I was like, all right. And then I played the video, stop it. Do what it
Mm.
play the video, stop it. Do it again. Play
Right.
it, stop it, right? And keep going until I finish the video, right?
Sure.
And The very next day, I completed my coin.
Wow. How about
You know
that?
what took longer for me?
What's that?
Creating the social medias for this coin. That took longer
Really?
than it took me to make the coin. Mind you, I've been
Wow.
waiting years to make this coin, but it
Hmm.
just took a little bit of effort to learn
That's
it
right.
on your own. And
That's right.
it changes everything the moment you get off your ass and go, right? So that's
That's
really
true.
what but
One thing I would say is it was interesting. You start looking at some of these people that are you know fairly wealthy. You look at Bill Gates, and I'm no fan of Bill Gates, but at the same time, he does have an extremely large presence, right? But the reality of it is he's a college dropout,
yeah,
you know, and so it
Mark Zuckerberg to all of the big
exactly,
guys.
so none of that actually has any bearing on anything. Um, tell you a personal story then, I guess. So my I was raised with my grandparents
Okay.
for about 9 years of our life growing up, and my grandfather he was born in 1924, and so this was prior to the Great Depression.
Mhm.
He was he was a kid in the Great Depression, really what we would think of as a kid, but almost an adult kid, if that makes sense. Six going on 30, that kind of thing. Um, because again, it was a different life.
Yeah.
It was everything was a struggle. Everybody was struggling. And so my grandfather really became an entrepreneur at that time, where he would hustle his own money, and there's quite a few things that he used to do, and at the time, and but he quit the sixth grade, you know, um, and but he continued that entrepreneurial spirit. He had his own company. He basically did his own thing. And he was a solopreneur is what he was. Painted houses, but he was good at it. He was really good at it. Fast. And this was all before the machines came in, and he could take these kids that were in their 20s when he was in his 60s, and he could outwork them all. And so it was really amazing, some of the things that he did. Um, so yeah, it's he was kind of my inspiration of a lot of things, because again, here it is, didn't finish grade school. Um, he took care of the family. We were not wealthy by any stretch. I mean, we were rich enough to have two TVs, but one had to be on the channel, on the picture, and the other had the sound, that kind of thing, in order
Yeah.
to get the whole thing. So, but he was kind of an inspiration to me, and and my thought there is that if he can do it, anybody can, and it depends on how much drive you really have, and that's really what it is. I think your drive makes a lot. Um, it's Everything's on YouTube now. YouTube is basically the Harvard of the free Harvard.
Yeah.
Granted, you have to watch several videos to determine if somebody's full of crap or whatever, but it's just part of it. I mean, we are in that type of an environment where everything is out there on the internet and it's available um, for free.
Yeah.
You know,
And it
so
just takes
actually,
the
there's
effort to go look.
it just takes the effort. It's just so um, that's
And
really it.
with AI now, there's definitely no excuse. If you were lazy before
Exactly.
to go on Google and to research something,
Right.
AI made it 50 times, 100 times easier, right?
That's right.
I
It did.
also, I don't know if you probably seen, I do books. I write books. I, do things like that. I actually, the other day, I was teaching a friend of mine.
Mm.
He, he he's doing certain things, but he could be doing more, right?
Sure.
And I
Sure.
told him, I'm like, what are you doing right now? He's like, oh, I'm home. I just got home from work. I'm like, do me a favor, download AI real fast.
Mhm.
And Chat GPT. I don't download Chat
Sure.
GPT. And he's all right, give me a minute. He downloads it. I said, just put this in there for me.
Mhm.
And I'm from the Bronx. He's from the
Sure.
Bronx. We're childhood friends. And I'm like, put in there, write me a 200-page book of a kid from the Bronx trying to get out of the struggle and become successful in life, right?
Sure.
Something real
Sure.
simple,
Right.
and just hit enter for me. He
Mhm.
hits it. He said, this is not a book. It's like an outline, I would say. It has chapter one,
Mhm.
2, 3. I was like, all right, now do this.
Right.
Go in that search bar and just put one and hit enter.
Mhm. Right.
And it starts writing chapter one. I said,
Mhm.
did it finish? All right, now hit two. I
2.
did the whole thing with it, right? And he literally wrote this whole book, read it,
Mhm.
edited, did everything he had to
Sure.
do within
Sure.
6, 7 hours. I had
Mm.
him by the end of the night, I had him publishing it on
Right.
Kindle Publishing so
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
he can put it on Amazon, right?
Sure.
Within 8 hours, his thing was already pending to be published on Amazon.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and I told him, I said, look how fast you did that.
Mhm.
And how,
That's
guess
a
how many people right now are doing the same thing. So if I were
Mhm.
you, I'll get your foot on the pedal.
Sure.
And
And then to even make more money, you turn around and you put text to speech and you make an audio book of the same thing.
there you go. Right?
I mean,
It's
seriously, that's really as easy as it
that
is,
easy. It's really
you
that
know.
easy. It honestly, all it takes is think a little, think, be creative,
Exactly.
right? Be creative. Think about,
That's right.
and it's funny because when we're kids, we say what we want, we do what we want,
Mhm.
right? Because we just don't have no cares and we think we can have anything, right?
Sure.
But as you get older, you feel like you have guidelines of what you can pass and what you can't pass.
That's
And,
right.
you know, I feel like that's for people that they don't have that mindset of I can do better, right? They're stuck in the
Right.
cycle, right?
Mhm.
And if you don't get out of that cycle, you're gonna stay there. Now, I know a lot
Mhm.
of military people, right?
Mhm.
And some of them still in the military, some of them
Mhm.
couldn't wait to get out of it because they didn't like pretty much what was going on inside.
Mhm.
And they decided that, you know what? I know I can do so much more for myself, right? And one of
Sure.
the people, my nephew, right? My nephew,
Mhm.
he's, 18 years old, no, 19, I think it
Mhm.
is, something like that. He
Right.
just graduated. So he's been there
Okay.
about a year and a half now.
Mhm.
And he he doesn't like the military, right? He
Mhm.
doesn't like it where he's at. And I
Mhm.
told him, I said, well, look, you're a man, number one. So
Right.
what you need to do is learn the values that you're going to learn there as a man. And
That's right.
also, your word is everything. So if you sign a contract for
Mhm.
4 years, you're going to stay in there for 4 years because that's what you committed to, right?
Sure.
And
That's right.
once you get out of there, then you can do whatever you want and
Sure.
feel like, you if you think you can do better, achieve those goals doing better. But
Mhm.
with the actual structure, because that's what it's about. It's structure,
Mhm.
right? The actual
Right.
structure you learn for the military. Now, his dad,
Sure.
on the other hand, 40 years. He's been in the military.
Mhm.
Now he works what is it? Civilian, like
Like a
private
civilian contractor type.
contractor. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So he
Mhm.
does that now. He lives in Hawaii. He's hanging out, right?
Oh, he hates it, I know.
Yeah. So, but that's what he's doing, and it's at the end of the day, I told him like you have to go here, right? But
Right.
there's a lot of people in the military that they're there and they're stuck in that cycle of this is what I'm
Mhm.
supposed to do, and when I get
Sure.
out of here, I'm gonna get my bonus and I'm gonna retire and I'm gonna do
Sure.
this, and it doesn't work out like that.
No,
Um,
it really doesn't. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong. I actually liked the military. I was in 20 years, so I
oh
deployed
yeah, you're
five
a lifer.
times.
You're a lifer. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a lifer. What you call a lifer. I deployed 5 times. I've been to 27 countries, so I loved it. I did. The worst part about it is I got too old to run with kids that were 18, and I'm 38 and an old man, and so I'm like, oh, my back hurts. It didn't used to do that, things like
Put
that.
me down so
I,
I can go ahead and shoot this gun, right?
right. Oh no, I mean I've done it. I loved it. It's I've seen a lot and I've done a lot. Now I would say the first 4 years was probably the hardest,
Mhm.
mostly because again you're coming out of from a civilian, you were high school, you were young and stupid. And then you're, now in more of a structured environment. So you kind of have to learn your place. Um, because in the military, and especially in the Marine Corps, and I'm less about the other branches because I don't know as much, but especially in the Marine Corps, with rank has its privileges.
Yeah.
So the more you progress, the better it is. Now, I went in a time Reagan was still in office, so it was a whole different time.
Yeah.
When I got out, um, Obama had just gotten in, so it was quite different, and you can see the dynamic and the way things progress throughout those years. I still don't have any regrets. There's things I wished I had done, but the reality of it is
Well,
that,
it's different because you were
I don't
like,
have any regrets.
yeah, is it because you were
Well,
like,
and that's right. And
yeah,
that's what I mean by this is that, the first 4 years, you kind of have to suck it up a little bit. Um, once you start pinning on some rank and you have, let's say you're an E4, E5, things do change quite drastically because they see you as more of a middle management kind of, supervisory type
yeah,
roles. And so it's quite different then. Um, but again, like I say, I had a great time. I mean, I really did. That was just the problem as I got old, and I'm like,
yeah.
stuff,
Well,
stuff doesn't work as well as it used
you,
to.
you got old for that, but not old for everything else, right? And the good thing is you learned what you did and you learned that discipline because that's what's going to make you successful in all of your different businesses because of, the discipline. You disciplined yourself that, I got to stay in the mud until I'm told to get up.
Tie in the net, but he he lived in the same neighborhood where Andrew Dice Clay lived, if you know who he was, and comedian back in the day, and yeah, we would just have fun and talk, and I'd listen to his New York accent. It was just he cracked me up. It was so funny, But then here it is. I'm from the South, we talk different too, It was just good times.
Yeah,
Good
that's
times.
awesome. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
So you have, these things going for you now.
Mhm.
What's the next thing for you? Like, what is your maybe new things that you're gonna add to your platform? Whether it's, I guess you said the training is what you're
The
working,
training, right?
that's your next step, I guess, at that.
That's kind of the next step in the in the pro credit solvers. So now, as far as on the personal side, again, my wife and I are doing multifamily real estate. So we're looking at different, you
Have you
know,
started? Do you got
we
one yet?
have. I mean, I've made offers on apartment complexes. Now I'm starting with roughly 9-10 units to about 15. I'm not going anything really huge at this point.
Yeah.
The idea being though is that you when you get that first one, the process is the same. It doesn't matter how many zeros are
How
in
many
after
doors
it.
are here?
Exactly. So but I read a book on from Grant Cardone.
I was just about to say that, yeah.
I mean,
Well,
he's phenomenal
yeah,
in what he does. My coach is Lance Edwards, so he's a much smaller kind of guy than Grant Cardone.
mhm,
Grant Cardone's just kind of branched his business out
yeah.
tremendously, whereas Lance is not. He is solely small apartments. Um,
It's
but again,
the same amount of work, honestly, though.
it is, it doesn't matter how big the apartment complex is, it's the same amount of work.
It's like
Um,
paper flipping. I used to paper flip, right? And I
uh,
remember when I got introduced to it, a
mhm,
friend of mine was going ahead and he was paper flipping houses under 50,000.
mhm.
So when you're doing that, all you have to put up to own that property is $500, right?
Oh, okay.
So if you go through HUD, you bid on the
Mhm,
homes, you bid on it. Like I said, the only amount of money you put is about 500, and that's for you to
mhm.
own it for about 45 days. So when you
Got it.
got an investor that's looking for this type of property, it makes
Mhm.
sense because it's only
Sure.
$500, right? After the 500,
Mhm.
after those
Right.
45 days, if you need to extend it, another
Mhm.
500, right?
Oh, I see.
But
Right.
when it comes down to it, that's how you're paper flipping. You're owning the home for X amount of time, flipping it to the investor that's purchasing it.
Sure.
He never came out of pocket because you own it for $500 on paper, but it's
Right.
worth 100,000, let's just, I mean, I'm
Sure,
sorry, well, at that point, anything under 50,
sure,
it's worth that, right? And
right,
then
right,
you flip it, you make your profit at that point.
sure.
But
And
I remember asking him, right? And I told him, I said, well, that's under 50. What about if it's over 50? How about a
mm-hmm,
million, right? And
mm-hmm,
he was like, oh, it's only 1,000. So
hmm,
I'm like, so why are we dealing with everything under 50? If
sure,
for
sure,
$1,000 I can flip $1 million property.
yeah,
And he was like, oh, because I don't have nobody for $1 million properties. And I'm like, you don't have
they're
nobody
out there,
under 50 either. You're looking for them. So you might
right,
as well look for those $1 million ones, or at least have the
right,
property so that you can offer it to these people, right?
sure, sure,
And have something to show. And so what I did was, he wanted to stick with what he was sticking with. I said, all right,
mm-hmm,
well, I'm gonna do it,
right,
right? Because I like to think big. So
sure,
that got me into dealing with those $1 million properties, which
sure,
then turned me into dealing with big commercial properties. I started
mm-hmm,
brokering hotels. I
right,
started broker. I remember one time I was dealing with a lawyer out of New York that he had the listing for the World Trade Center at the time and the Empire State Building. He had
wow,
me trying to sell that thing, right?
wow,
But obviously, there's a lot of things with China because
right,
they own part of that with
right,
bonds and stuff like that. So it was hard to
sure,
sell. But, you know, it got me thinking that,
mhm,
why, like Grant Cardone, why
sure,
deal with those smaller properties if
mhm,
it's going to be the same amount of effort for those multi-million-dollar properties
that's
where
right,
we make a ton more
that's right.
money,
And
right?
that's
And
kind of where I'm
go to
at, big
yeah,
bait attracts big fish,
exactly,
so,
exactly.
so
Yeah,
that's right.
it
The only
definitely.
reason getting into a smaller one at this point is again to just to see the
Yeah,
process
get your feet wet.
because I've never done it before, so as to see that process specifically on how it will work out. It is very interesting and, and you have to do it right. The harder part when I get into it has been that a lot of my brokers that you deal with, they tend to think of it as almost a single family residence. And I'm like, no, it's as a multifamily, that's a business. You have to
Yeah,
have a profit and loss statement. You have to have the rent roll. You have to have, all these different things. So these are the things that I need.
and
And they're
you're
like,
doing it
well,
as a DSCR, correct?
right, right. So I mean,
You need
I've got
all
to
of that stuff.
calculate all the stuff.
Yeah.
And so I've got one right now that's doing it's a 1.5 DSCR.
Okay.
So I'll probably hit you up for that one, that's for sure. But I'm
You're gonna
trying to
hit
get
yourself up because now
well, that's
you're in
true.
the business now.
That's true.
Yeah.
Um, but and that's another reason why, again, so now the money, and then on top of that, now I'm into the multifamily real estate. So again, it becomes a, kind of breadcrumbs to the other one. Incidentally, my wife, um, she is a kitchen and bath CAD designer. So
Okay.
what she does is she can go in with a computer model and, put things where they're supposed to go.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. I
it's not like blueprints, but it is almost, it's more
digital.
detailed than that. Yeah, exactly. Digital. And so, between the two of us, we're able to kind of put these things together and have almost something like that. One of the things I was looking at doing was buying an actual, a business that would do interior remodeling. So then I would have it all. So I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, I'm like, why not?
But you think just like me, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. I
These
probably do.
these are yeah, these are things I do all the time. It's like, I'm gonna pay this guy to do this. I see the profit margins are there. Why don't
Sure,
I just do it for myself? Then I can get all of that stuff at cost, but then I can make
mhm,
money off of a million other people doing the same thing.
sure, sure.
Because it's a need, right? And
Well,
people, especially in the industry, right? Depending
yeah,
on what you're doing.
that's right. And so, well, and I tend to, so my wife, I'll through an agreement contract her to do the thing. I still pay her what she's worth.
Yeah.
So it becomes a tax write-off in the one business. It becomes income in hers, of which she's now using it to pay whatever her expenses. So basically it just
Yeah.
kind of, you
Yeah.
know,
It's cross
divides
marketing.
everything out,
It works
smooths it
itself.
out. So it hides money a little bit, I guess you could
But
say.
it's
No,
cross marketing, really
it
cross marketing.
is. It
Because
is.
what you're doing is you're using, her company, which is its own entity,
It
to
is.
do a job for your business. People do it all the time. You
They
know,
do it all the time.
honestly, even on Grant Cardone's side, think about it.
Hmm.
All of those different businesses that he has, but then he has Grant Cardone Capital, right? Well, he
Right.
got Cardone Capital, right? And
Sure he
Cardone
does.
Capital is the one that funds all of these different small businesses, even his
That's right.
training courses, all of those
Right.
different things.
That's
So
right.
it's we can do it as business.
And again, it's just, ironically, kind of talked about some of these people that, are college dropouts. My uncle used to work on the railroad track, and they would, lay down the track. And he said, yeah, I had an engineer that would come out and say, well, you can't do that. It just doesn't work that way. And then, the old dumb supervisor comes out there who's never been to college. He gets out there and does it, because he wasn't smart enough to know he couldn't do
Yeah,
it. And I think that's probably kind of where I'm at too. I'm not quite dumb enough to figure out can't do that. I'm just going to try it and see what happens.
it's the
So
trying part. As long as you're trying something,
that's
right?
it. Forward
If
motion.
you really, and I tell my kids this, all right, you got to learn at least one thing a day, right?
Right.
Doesn't matter how big or small it is, just
That's right.
check something off every day, right?
Sure.
Because believe it or not, it's just the doing part. And
Right.
that's all you're instilling is, learn something,
Mhm.
you're instilling I need to learn something else and
Sure.
something else and something
It,
else. And so it gets to a point where they don't know it all, but they know a lot.
that's right.
And that's
Like,
that's
I started reading this book. It's called Atomic Habits. I don't know if you've heard that one, but Atomic Habits, and I've just started. But basically, the gist with the Atomic Habits is being able to make small, minor adjustments to a lot of different things, and
mm,
how much that moves the needle in the whole business,
yeah.
or in life. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be just business. It could be life, and so, looking at each task and saying, okay, what can I do to adjust this in order to make a difference? And it doesn't have to be a full pendulum swing. It can be just just enough.
Yeah.
And then you go to the next thing in that task of life, and okay, what do I do, in order to make this adjustment? And before you know it, you've made such a huge adjustment overall of
Yeah.
everything. And so it's pretty fascinating.
And you don't realize it because it's
Exactly.
just it's muscle memory now. You
Right.
added this little bit in, and now it just keeps on going. It's funny. I was telling Mike, right? I was telling
Mhm.
him, all I needed was for him. He goes to the gym. He'd been telling me to go to the gym with him for the longest, and finally I go to the gym, and I
Right.
told him, I said, all I needed was the one time because my mind works that way. Is that once I do it once, it's something
Mhm.
that I have, even if I don't want to do it no more, I
Right.
have to do it
Yeah.
because it's part of my routine now, right?
Sure. Sure.
And I'm just made that way, I guess, right?
Right. And that's that's good. I mean, in the military, we were all about, training and things like that. And so, we actually looked at things like that. And so there's a plate of donuts there. And I said, yeah, I could eat that whole plate of donuts, but how many miles am I going to have to run after that? And so, and it was just like, it's again, it's about self-discipline, self-control. And it is, it's just, you've got to have all of that in life. We look at life as like a three-legged stool, that kind of thing. And, each leg has to kind of be grow on its own
Mhm.
simultaneously, though,
Yeah,
your mind, body, spirit, that kind of thing. Without that, you're lopsided
yeah,
in life,
yeah.
you know.
So your
So it is.
wife works with you a lot then, right?
Well,
She works
again, she has her own business,
with her own business though, with her own
but
business.
yeah, we actually right now we're both sitting at the kitchen table. Because again, so we bought a house. It's a 4-bedroom house, and our kids are grown and out of the house. And so it's like, well, we got this stupid huge house, and her office is at the other end of the house. And so we're like, okay, well, we just kind of took over the kitchen table, and I have my laptop there, and she has her laptop there, and we're able to, listen to the same music at the same time, and and things like that. So yeah, we do.
How
And
long
then
you been married?
we've been married 30 years,
30
31
years. Oh
years,
man, God
31
bless.
years now. Yeah.
Bless.
And in December 3rd, it'd be 31 years. Yeah.
Nice. I've been married to
So
my wife. It's going on 17 years.
17. Yeah. I told somebody once, I said, yeah, my wife is the smartest person I know. The only thing she'd ever done that was stupid was marry her first husband. And, the person's like, really? She was married before? My wife's like, no, dummy, he's the first one. So, so, so it's just, you got to have laughter in
Yeah,
life
of
and
course,
stuff. And,
of course.
and the problem is I can talk with a straight face and just, and just say the most outlandish things. It's funny. People don't understand the humor, the dry humor. That's
Yeah,
true.
but at the end of the day, you want to know something. That's why you're gonna be successful at everything you do, because you can't sit at a table with a bunch of people and just be the dry guy. Nobody wants to. He don't say nothing. He don't.
Sure.
I go anywhere. I go to the store and I just have to talk. My wife tells me all the time, you want to talk to everybody, right? But you have to, right? You
Right.
gotta be able to. I'll talk to the clerk. I'll talk to the person
Mhm.
at the supermarket, or at Target. I'll talk to them and just,
Sure.
just have a conversation while I'm there with them anyway, right?
Yeah.
Because you want to know something, you never know. That person might have something to offer, or you might be able to help that person in some way or the other,
Plant
right?
those seeds.
Exactly. A closed mouth
Plant
don't
those.
get fed is what I was always taught,
That is exactly right.
right?
And that's exactly right. And that's kind of where I'm at. I have, financial goals that I'm looking at achieving, and if unless I die soon, it's going to happen, and that's just kind of the way it is. That's kind of
Young,
the
you'll be
mindset.
fine. You're too young.
Well, it's just the way it is. I think like that. I'm going to accomplish what I'm going to accomplish. Um, Regardless, that's for
Uh,
sure.
un- as long as you have tunnel vision, you'll get there. It's
Yeah.
a lot of times people say they want to do something, but they're
Mhm.
too busy. They want to have fun before they succeed, instead of
Yeah,
succeed and then have fun, right?
that's true.
And you can't really do both. You got to
Right.
go ahead and dedicate your focus, right?
Mhm.
Dedicate your focus on something, dedicate on building what you're setting out to do. And
Sure.
then once that's done, or once you feel like you have some breathing room, then you go ahead and have some fun, enjoy yourself. But
Sure.
you gotta, for any accomplishment, whether big or small, you got to go ahead and celebrate that. Whether it's,
That's for sure.
having a little glass of scotch, or going
Mhm.
out to dinner with the wife, or, just something to say, cheers,
Yeah.
this is a great accomplishment for me, right?
Sure.
And, on to the next one,
Right.
because
Well, and it goes to time blocking and all this other stuff.
yeah, yeah, you can't
I've
just
heard of
keep
even
going.
that's right. I've heard the guy even talk about, even throughout your day, you should have no more than about three main tasks that you want to accomplish that day.
Yep.
So this is your main focus that day, is these three things. And then, because the problem is of course, all these things are going to always come in. You're, sometimes I felt like the fireman, I'm always putting out fires, especially for managing a crew of 45 people.
Yeah, yeah,
There's always something. So at least these three things I could accomplish every day, that made my day a success, was
yeah,
that. Now tomorrow's three other things, on and on and on. But after that, then I'm able to, to work in that other stuff that has to be done, that isn't really quite my goal, but it's good for the benefit of the business. And so that that's kind of the mindset I've tried to keep
nice.
for the longest.
Let me ask you this. So, if I'm not mistaken, I believe you said that you create your website, right?
I did put it together through it's through the same Go High
Yeah,
level.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's
But you
you
taught
know
yourself how to do it,
basically
right?
basically yeah.
And that's like me. I do my websites, I do my own stuff
Mhm.
too. And I find it fun, right?
It
Because
is. It is.
especially if you're a creative person, because it gives you that room to say, all right, well, maybe let me do this a little bit different, or let me
Sure.
make what I've been hearing is, the process to find this is, they want
Mhm.
it to be a little bit more easier, right?
Sure.
So then I find a streamline effect that it allows me
Mhm.
to get there faster, right?
Sure.
And I find it exciting because in life
Mhm.
you have to find those little things, how to
Mhm.
get there faster, right?
Right.
And ChatGPT is a huge tool for that. Get me there faster.
Sure.
We're on obviously the YouTube channels that we have.
Mhm.
I'm not great on YouTube yet, right? But what
Mhm.
I did was I started researching and how do I
Sure.
get my videos to go viral? How do I do this? How
Right.
do I do
Right.
that? It gives you purpose, right?
It
It gives
does.
you by every little thing you're trying to accomplish gives you
Sure.
purpose. And I love to create. So my websites,
Mhm.
learning how to do those, it was
Sure.
awesome, right? So I
Right.
know like when you're doing them, it's
Mhm.
and I can tell you're a creator because you're making your own courses. You're
Sure.
doing,
Yes.
right?
Right.
So
Right.
so these are things that it shows like, man, you can do anything. You like me. We think about it. Like it's, how can I
Right.
go ahead and all right, man, I need to cross this bridge. How am I
Sure.
get there? I
Right.
literally can go to Alibaba, buy a bridge,
Mhm.
and put it on there for less than what they're charging.
That's right. Yeah,
So
you could buy, you'd be surprised what you could buy there.
oh yeah, I love that place, right?
I do too.
So
I do too.
honestly, it's for drop shipping. I don't know if you ever thought about making a website or if you have done it before, but drop shipping is a whole other beast, right? And
It
of
is. It is. I had a drop shipping business at one time.
course you did.
It was actually, yeah, it was coffee. I like coffee, I really do. And so I started putting some other stuff on there. I ended up keeping the website. So I am probably in a position where I can do it again. At the time, what was going on was is because of drop shipping, COVID hit. And so one of my suppliers was in Chicago and they were struggling to get their product out because so many people, in the postal service had COVID that they were taking all the first class mail, shoving them in a Conex box, and they said, "We'll get to it when we get to it." And so I'm like, "Well, that's my whole freaking product right there. Everything's going out in first class mail." And so anyway, I stopped the business um, when I moved, just because I'm frustrated with it. Because again, that was the hardest part for me was is relying on the postal service. That's the harder part. But I liked it. The coffee is great. It's fresh roasted, shipped to the door right away, and so unless you have your own roaster at home, you're
Yeah.
not getting much better.
Yeah.
And so I am going to get that one back. Like I say, I still have the website, so
They said,
it'll be easy enough. Exactly it. I mean, it'll be a Shopify store. That's what I had before. It manages all the inventory. It has the
that's awesome.
processing system on it, everything. I've still got all the graphics from the websites and things like that. So I didn't really get rid of anything. Suppliers will be the same. So just adjust the margins and things like that. But I'll get that going. I did try to do Amazon FBA for a while. Um, and it was fun, but the problem with Amazon tended to be that Amazon takes um, your third party sellers, and they track all your data. It doesn't matter who's the third party seller, so
Yeah.
they're tracking your data. They're looking at it, and then they make adjustments to the Amazon piece of the business that will now compete against you. And so I'm like, ah, bastards.
Really?
So
They,
I'm
they,
doing all the
they
work and
figured out the
Amazon's reaping all
algorithm.
the benefit.
Yep.
So, and that just kind of frustrated me a little bit with that one as well. But it was a lot of fun in doing, especially if you like that kind of stuff, if you like trying to, track down deals and try to, how do I get this? How do I get it cheaper? How do I get it, into the system?
So I see
Um,
people that do that side of
mhm,
it. Then I see
right.
people go on to the partner sites like Tide or
Sure.
like
I've seen
brand
that as
names
well.
that people know, and they'll make a few pennies off of a product or a dollar off
Hmm.
of a product trying to sell a
Right.
bunch of them, which is smart, right? But
Right.
that's slower money. But then you find those other guys that go ahead and they'll go to Alibaba. Like I seen this one
Hmm.
guy that he has a boxing glove, right?
Hmm.
This boxing glove, I think he pays like $5 for, but he
Sure.
sells for like $120 on Amazon,
Hmm.
right? Killing
That's
him,
right. That's
killing him.
right.
And he's very successful at it.
Sure.
And I think
Sure.
the guy now teaches other people on how to sell different products. But it's, you know, you're selling a glove you got for $5 for $120. Look at the margins there, right? And
Right. That's huge.
Alibaba sends out the product for him. He doesn't even send it
Mhm.
out himself. So he's
Right.
drop shipping, doing the same method without even
Mhm.
getting a product, really.
Right.
So,
Right.
you know, it
And
really, again, it takes to come up with an idea, and don't just come up with that first side of the idea. I want to do
sure.
this. Well,
Right.
start looking at the layers on
Mhm.
top of that. You know,
Right.
there's so many layers that can
Mhm.
help you basically just press play, and then it
Sure.
goes from there.
That's right.
Basically everything is sell. All you're doing
Mhm.
is looking at your monthly, you know,
Right.
money coming in. So, all right, well, that
Mhm.
came in. I made that
A-
much
a-
this month,
And that's why I
right?
do like drop shipping. I really do. It's because it's almost, a set it, and I wouldn't say forget it, because there's
Yeah,
nothing that's a set it and forget it.
right.
But you can set that, once your processes are in place and procedures and how things work, um, it can just work. And that's it. And so basically what you're doing is the same thing. You're just tracking to make sure how many sales did I get yesterday or whatever. It's almost no different than I would do as a facility manager. I'm
I
looking at my
pivot, let me get another
yesterday's
product.
sales. That was my daily routine.
Right.
Yesterday's sales, we sold this, and these are all the SKUs for all those things that we sold. Um, and so tomorrow I'll end up doing the same thing. But the fact that it's in a lot of it's in the background, it's happening.
Yeah.
And so that's another reason
Not
why I'm going
much
to do that.
effort from your side of it. It's more
Exactly.
just more overseeing now.
Sure.
Really
And I
what
did do some creative stuff. I did create graphics and things like that for shirts, print on demand stuff. That's really what it was. I mean,
yeah,
think about how great that is. You have inventory, but you don't really have inventory. You know what I mean? So you're not buying inventory. How great is that? I mean, that should be a no brainer, really, for me.
100%.
And so what happens is now, this graphic is printed on this t-shirt or the sweatshirt or whatever, and it's packaged and shipped. And I mean, that's awesome. And so I've done a lot of graphics like that, um, especially for the coffee business.
Friend of mine got a tea business right now. And he
I've heard they do good. I'm from the South, and we only drink sweet tea. It's got to be so
you
strong that this
guys
this
listen, I
spoon
lived in
stands up.
Florida. I lived in Florida and I remember, you know, my friends, that's all they drink is sweet tea.
That's it. It's
I like the real sweet tea. I like sweet in my tea.
yes,
You know,
yeah. You look,
I don't
start thinking your diabetes is going to act
I
up or
know.
something. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
well, now I guess, you know, because obviously you're doing a lot of great things and you have a great mind, let me tell you, right? And I like the fact that you're always on go, you're always on learn mode, you're always figuring
Right,
out something different, right?
right.
So, what kind of advice can you give to, you know, upcoming entrepreneurs, people that, you know, are looking to start something but don't even
Hmm.
know where they want to start or how to start? And obviously, you know, being that you offer the stuff that you offer, I think maybe
Hmm.
even you would be the first step for them, contacting
Sure.
you, getting their credit up, getting their business
Hmm.
started so that, you know, their ideas can start coming together. Because
Sure.
the store, you know, I'm pretty sure, you know, sooner or later you're going to create your consulting company for the business
Hmm.
that you know, charge for that stuff too. But,
Right.
you know, it's like you have you got a great mind of business
Hmm.
and you're not scared to put it out there, which is awesome, right?
Right.
That's like I am. I'm excited. I get excited. Like, I get super excited about these
Right.
different things. And, you
Sure.
know, not everybody's like that, right? You are,
That's
you know,
true. I
I
I
found
am.
my, you know,
I
but
am.
it's something that you got to be excited about wanting to learn or even just do
Sure.
like I'm creating my own course right now, right? I was
Sure.
saying, and I'm doing it off of the Go High Level platform too.
Hmm.
And
That's
I
right.
sit there at home and I'm doing this
Hmm.
thing, and my wife goes, "What are you doing?" I'm working on my course,
Right.
and I create the quizzes. So now they
Hmm.
got the questions they got to answer. They got to watch the
Sure.
video first, then the
Sure.
question, and then I'm even creating the certificate so that you
Right.
didn't just pass this, you're gonna get a certificate for passing this course, right?
Right. And that's
Because
kind of
you
where I'm
know
at.
the certificate doesn't really mean nothing, you know, to the outside world, but to you internally
Hmm.
it's an accomplishment,
That's
right?
right. It
And
is.
that's why as when we were kids in school, they would give us certificates. They would give us little rewards and stuff like that so
Right.
that it's an internal accomplishment that I
Right.
did this, I finished this,
Sure.
right? And honestly, your courses will help people the same way mines are
I
gonna.
think so. I
Yeah,
think so. I think so, with anything getting started, it's just like, the one thing I would say is to get started. Everybody usually, in the South, we say I'm fit to do something, which means I'm about to do it.
I'm about it.
Well, don't be fit to do something, just do it. There's a couple of things I would say is first, some people say go with your passion. Others say go with what you're good at. I tend to lean more on go with what you're good at. What is it that's a skill that you are good at? And there's always somebody that's good at something.
Yeah.
I'm not good at everything. Mike and I talked about it. I mean, I'm not great at running Facebook ads. Um, but I'm gonna figure that out. I'm gonna get to where I can do that. Mostly because I don't like paying somebody else to do it. But that's, you know what I mean? And so, but the
I
thing
get it.
is
I get it.
to get what you're good at, if you're going to start something, what is it that you're good at? That could be woodworking, that could be mechanicking, it could be, it doesn't really matter. Um, but then you turn around and then just kind of get started with it. Start small. Your circle may start small. Your circle may be, selling to family and friends as test subjects to see if maybe your thought process is any good. Um, it and I've done that before. Hey, does this work? If my family and friends are saying it, and of course I have to tell them. I mean, don't do this because of who I am. Give me your honest opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of times your family, you know, mom loved you no matter what. You might have been the ugliest kid in the world, so but mom loves you, and that's the way it is. But that's not the advice that you need. So but that's the thing is to get started. Now what I tend to do is try to put myself in the same shoes as if I am a customer. So if I am your customer, where is step one? How do I get to step two? How do we get to step three? How do we get to step four? Everything is a logical
Yeah.
process. When you look at sales funnels, that's exactly what it is. What's the difference between a sales funnel and a website? A sales funnel sends people down a specific path. It does not allow them to deviate one way or the other.
Yeah.
They either complete or they get out. That's it. Whereas a website is just that. They call it surfing the web. You can go wherever you want to go. And so, which is not great for sales. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So,
Now
and
you
that's
just
kind of
going
the
on.
idea.
Now it's the targeting. You're not targeting.
Exactly.
You just want them to see your beautiful website. But if you
Exactly.
direct traffic to where you want them to go, they're just gonna leave.
That's
They
right.
can, oh, it was great. Let me get out of here.
Yeah. And so I think that's really where it's at is that, is one, find what you're good at. Two, develop your concept and does your concept work? And then just start doing it. You know, the build a better mousetrap. We've had mousetraps forever, but there's that one guy who comes up with one and it's a bucket and it has the lid flips over. I'm like, you kidding me?
I could have did that. Right.
You're right. And that's what I'm saying. It's sometimes it's some simple stuff. And so I guess that's really my big thing is to get started and to get doing it. Again, one of those courses that I'm working on is basically what it's called business development. And basically this is just for business startups. And so, how do you go through these steps logically? Well, I do things quite different in that, I figure out what my name is going to be. I've researched that. I've researched through, my here it's called the Secretary of State. That's where you would get your LLC from.
Yeah.
And once I have it and I know it's available, I go out and get my website next. Because again, there are people that scour the State Department's stuff and they say, oh, well, this name is there. And
They
then
don't
they
have
go
a
out and they
website.
register your website for you, and now you're having to pay more. So I tend to do that, probably as a way to, you
Yeah.
know, just to
So
kind of circumvent so I can have the website I want to have.
100%, 100%.
So,
So
but it,
basically, for entrepreneurs, just do. right?
just do it. I mean, again, as from a business standpoint, I mean, yeah, you may start off as a sole proprietor, but I mean, technically a sole proprietor is not a business. It's just an individual.
Yep.
But again, it's easier to transact that way, but it also has the most risk. So that's where the limited liability company comes into. And so that's one of the things that we kind of talk about. What I don't give is the financial advice because, I slept at a Holiday Inn Express last night, but it wasn't, I'm not a lawyer. So um, that's just the way it is, and so you tell them, this is what it is. These are what all these individual um, entities are and how they can protect you. But you need to talk to your legal professors about,
Yeah.
anything more, what's best for
Especially
you.
depending on what type of industry you're trying to get into.
Exactly. And
And
again, as you may know, in some industries, and especially when you start getting into credit,
mhm,
these industries are kind of frowned upon quite a bit because they see people as predatory almost, and there are some that are out there that are predatory. Um,
listen, it's honestly, it's all people need, all any of these entrepreneurs that are coming out there need is advice on small things, right?
that's right.
And number one thing is getting started.
That's
That's
right.
key, right? But also, if they want to learn more, they can always come to your website and, talk to you about it and get to know
Absolutely.
your QR code, like I said, is going to be right on the bottom. So if anybody want to talk to William, go ahead, QR code on the bottom. You'll be able to contact him, go to his website, see all of the great products and services he's offering. And, who knows, he'll be able to help you and help you get to the next stage of your life, whether it's in career or whether it's in, personal life. But either way, you need guidance, right? We all need guidance, and mentorship is everything, right? So, think about that in the phase of, that's why I always ask that question is what advice would you give an upcoming entrepreneurs? Because I want them to understand that, not only are you just on this podcast, but you can also become a mentor to them if they reach out to you, because any entrepreneur that's actually loves what they're doing and loves they have passion for doing good, they're willing to help people, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes, obviously you charge whatever you're going to charge for mentorships or consulting or whatever it may be. But, when it comes down to it, it's about, me personally, yeah, I charge what I charge, but I love to help people. I'm not
Right.
going to charge you just to have a conversation with you. But if you want me to go into depth and really
Mhm.
show you the process, then that's where you're going to pay, right? But at the end of the day, just for a conversation, those are free in my
That's
eye.
right.
And that's
That's
also
right.
why I always tell people, which in your so you as well, join the community. Join the BXB community is right on our website in the top right. It says join community or login community. Like, go on there, join it, because at the end of the day, we might have somebody that is coming on that site saying, man, I need help with credit. Or I have a
That's right.
client that needs help with credit. And then now you got you jumping in there. Well, this is my phone number. Let's have a conversation real fast. Right. And
Right.
that helps everything because it's
Right.
about helping people and helping the community come together and help each other, because
That's
I
right.
might come to you for something. And now knowing your mindset and how you work, you're definitely going to hear more from me, right? Because I
Right.
like the way you move, and you're a mover. You're not somebody that makes excuses, right?
Right.
Everybody's saying I want to do something, but have a million excuses of why they haven't yet. And you're not going to get far that way,
That's right.
right? But Will, I just want to say, it was definitely a pleasure having you
It was
on
fun.
the podcast. I'm gonna want to have you on here again eventually down the line just to see
Okay.
the progress and everything you're doing and how many people you've helped, right?
Okay.
But besides that, thank you so much for being on this podcast again. And please, if anybody's out there and they're listening, they're watching this podcast, you know, contact Will.
Okay.
Contact him. Maybe he can help you one way or the other. But at the same time, just go to his website, see the different things he offers, even if it's just to get an idea of what you can get out of him, right? And please like, subscribe, share this video to any entrepreneurs out there that may want to learn or think you can benefit from this. But Will, again, thank you. My,
Appreciate it. Thank you.
my audience, thank you so much for everything. We love you guys. Until next time.